Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the channel. Football is back. I've been busy, man. I can't even lie to you. This weekend, I've not been around. I've been busy with other people and other commitments other than YouTube, and I've taken a bit of a break for the last couple of days. And I've got to say, I've needed it. The last week, I had a couple of days away, and I thought, you know what? This is what we need. You need a break from this. I absolutely love what I do. Do not get me wrong, but sometimes you need a break from it. But football, there's no break. The football season is well and truly underway, and this weekend kicked up enough. What would I say? Results, shocks, um, discussion points, and we're going to get into it, massively into it. Not just in this show. I'm going to be with you for around about half an hour today, but actually tonight is going to be epic, man. There's going to be an amazing lit panel this evening, and one of them is in the chat. LB, what you telling me, mate? I hope you're well. Be interested to get your thoughts on what you thought of Arsenal last night, man. And make sure you join us tonight at 8 p.m. where we're going to go and discuss it all. We will be on before the Big Six, so I've tried to avoid clashes because I keep getting people saying I can't watch your channel and Big Six. It's always on at the same time. So I've spoken to Turkish and the guys, and yeah, we're going to be on at 8 o'clock tonight with everybody. Let's talk about this, shall we? Make sure we do us a favor. Make sure you smash a like. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to the channel. We're creeping towards 11.5K, towards that 12K target next. So make sure that you help us out with that one. Okay, put your questions in because I'm sure you've got lots. Make sure you put a Q at the start of it so I know that it is a question. Throw in a super chat if you want to. Of course, you'll go to the front of the queue with that. Now, we're going to talk about Arsenal Crystal Palace last night, which, to be fair, wrapped off a very entertaining and exciting weekend. I must admit, I really enjoyed the results of the weekend because they kicked up a lot of discussion points. But it's always horrible and nervy when you're the last game on because the pressure is all on you. You're under the lights. It's a Monday night. And I realized last night, actually, the stats. Mikel Arteta has never won a game as an Arsenal manager on a Monday night. It's absolute madness, that. But last night we got that victory. Now, the discussion point straight away was, of course, the team news. Now, the team news was a mad one. I can't lie to you. I got it spot on. And it wasn't because it's the team I wanted. It was because of the team I expected. I really did not feel that this was a one-off only game against Nottingham Forest. I felt like because of the extra man in midfield that Arteta seems to want, the low block of Forest and, of course, Crystal Palace, potentially with Lerma and Decore in midfield, that we would set up exactly as we did. And that's what we did, man. Tomiyasu got the nod ahead of Yuri and Timber, who's now out injured for the majority of the season. And I wasn't shocked by what Arteta has done, but I was concerned. And I'll tell you why I was concerned. One man, Gabriel. Now, there was a lot of rumours, wasn't there, that Gabriel was sniffing around Saudi Arabia. Real Madrid were interested in talking to him and looking at an opportunity to buy this guy. So I was really nervous about him being left out yet again. Now, he's come on in both games, to be fair. So it's not like we're not using the guy, we're punishing him. He doesn't want to be a part of the team. He's going to be leaving. I just feel that Arteta, for whatever reason in this system, doesn't seem to want him to play him. Now, we've seen it before with Pep Guardiola where he's left like Laporte on the bench or he's left John Stones on the bench. There's been times, I believe, where he's left Ruben Diaz on the bench as well. And no one's really like mentioned it or been suspicious of it because he's rotating. So there could be that. And unfortunately, guys, this is a guessing game at the moment because we're 2 games in. So is this going to be something that we see regularly now by Mikel Arteta? Is this going to be something just for now? And we're going to switch it around when players come back? There's suggestions that because Zinchenko and Jesus are both out injured at the moment, that's the reason why we're playing this way and we could switch it back round again at some point. There's also the fact that Gabriel on the ball is probably less comfortable than the likes of Tomiyasu, Timber, Ben White, Saliba. A lot of question marks at the moment. And I'm going to just put it out there. I said it on AFTV. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Whether I think it's going to work for the foreseeable, I have my doubts and I'm concerned about it. But actually, when you look at things game by game, the reason Mikel Arteta has done it is because he felt that with a team like a low block like Nottingham Forest and Palace and potentially Fulham at the weekend, he's now going with this new system, which looks to play a 4 at the back, then a 3 at the back, with Partey playing right back, dropping inverted. And then obviously you've got your 3 other centre backs. Declan Rice, who I thought was immense, which we'll come into in a minute. and then it allows that extra man in midfield to be Erdegaard, Kai Havertz, and then Eddie and Nketiah up top with Saka and Martinelli either side. So it basically fits everybody in who he wants to play. It allows for Kai Havertz and Eddie to both get the nod now that Jesus is out. It allows still for Saka and Martinelli to go wide. It allows Erdegaard to be in there as a playmaker. It allows Declan Rice and Partey both to be in that midfield, which a lot of people had doubts about at the start of the season. Was he going to play both? Was he just going to play one? Was one going to be holding and the other going into an 8, like a 6 and an 8? Are they both going to play holding and pivots? There was all these question marks. And I think we've seen an opportunity or a little snapshot, should I say, of a system and a formation that Mikel Arteta has implemented. Let's be real, in the first couple of games of the season, we've not seen this throughout any of the pre-season. I think we maybe touched on it against Manchester United, which we lost. But other than that, it's been pretty much solidly 4-4-3. Sorry, 4-3-3 even. Got an extra player in there somehow. For me, I don't know that we should be going again with that in every single game. I think if we're looking at the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool, sometimes I can understand why we might want to get an extra defender at the back there, might want to put an extra man in midfield there. But actually, I'm not so sure that this is a formation I want to see for the throughout the season. Now, normally I don't see managers chop and changing formations per game. Normally look to try and get a bit of momentum. And that's probably my biggest concern. Are we going to be able to allow this Arsenal setup to have the momentum to go on and win games of football playing like that, where people are learning new systems, new positions, new formations? The team selection's a little bit all over the place. Some of the guys on the bench are thinking, where is my future here? How do I get into this side? So I can understand the cause for concern. I also understand where people are on the other side of the fence, which is who cares who won the game. Now, I am over there with that group. Don't get me wrong. I want to win games of football. But I also want to believe that I can see something in the future where we're never going to get caught out. And I'm just wondering whether we are going to get caught out by playing that way. We haven't won convincingly against Forest or Palace, who are going to be finishing in the bottom half of the tables. Now, some people might say that doesn't matter because every game's hard. Okay. Some people might say Selhurst Park ain't easy. Take the 3 points and run. Okay. But otherwise, I'm looking at it thinking, am I excited watching this Arsenal side right now? No, I'm not. Does it matter? I think it kind of does, because I think you want to be looking forward to the games. I think there's a definite part of that. But also it's about how we win in the games. Were we controlled? I think we were pretty controlled up until the red card at this game last night. I think we were pretty controlled up until the second half, where a lot of people got exhausted against Forest. But actually, when you look at things, I'd rather actually kill these teams off. And we haven't killed a team off yet. Now, we played a 4-3-3 in most of pre-season, and against Manchester City in the Community Shield, Havertz played up top. We haven't seen that again since. We've not played 4-3-3. And because of the injuries that we've had and some of the issues at the moment with players getting back from fitness, we've completely gone down with something different. We've completely changed everything. It's like, let's play a new formation. Let's play a new system. Let's get a new team selection in there. Gabriel, you're no longer, I know you're our best defender. You're not part of my plans for this formation. Where do we go from here? So I suppose I'm confused, is what I said last night, at where we go next with this formation. Is this something just being utilized to the teams that play a low block? When we play a team that are in the top 6 that are going out all attack at us, are we going to change our system to nullify that? And this is where Mikel Arteta comes in. Let's see how tactically good he is, because a lot of people say that he's fantastically tactically. And I'll be honest with you, I've seen that in many occasions. There's some occasions where I feel he's been caught out, and I think his in-game management has definitely let him down. But when you think about it, there's been times where actually he deserved credit, and the substitutions he's made or a player he's selected has gone correct. For example, Tomiyasu at left back against Liverpool. Everyone said, where's Tierney? Boom, it worked. Salah didn't get a touch, right? There's been other opportunities where he's let him down and he's left Zinchenko on at Anfield for too long, or he's brought Jorginho on when we need a goal, or there's been selections of Fabio Vieira instead of Granit Xhaka at some stage last season where we lost to Southampton at home. So he's learning, and he needs to be a quick learner, because we're in a situation right now where we're up against the best team I've seen in a long, long time. And at the moment, we've matched them in our points record. Our points ratio say that along with Brighton, Arsenal and Man City are at the top at the moment. So those 3 teams, who, by the way, I must say, look very good. Thought Brighton have been immense. I know they've only played Luton and Wolves, but my God, they've battered them. Do you know what I mean? I think they've scored, is it 7 or 8 goals already? Crazy. And Manchester City were a force to be reckoned with against Burnley, and likewise against a very good Newcastle side at the Etihad. So we're going to have very, very, very long season, and we're going to have a very large amount of fixtures that I believe we're going to need a squad for. I do still feel that there's a couple of opportunities for us to go into that market, and I'd love to get some of your thoughts on that. So make sure you smash your questions in as we go through some of the stats of last night and some of the talking points. I'd love to get some of your opinions in the chat and love to get some of your questions up on screen. So make sure that you throw them in the chat, and we will do that. Listen, let's talk a little bit about other than the starting lineup, which confused a few people, how we started. I felt that we started dominant. I thought for most of the game we had possession, and that's what Mikel Arteta is clearly wanting with this new side. He clearly wants to see a possession-based game with this system, and that's what we had. Big up to Crystal Palace, by the way, who I thought were doing their best to defend against us. I didn't think they gave Martinelli or Saka much of a sniff. I thought Mitchell really did well against Saka. I thought that Saka struggled in parts to get through. I thought that Martinelli just seemed really reluctant to go on the outside of Joel Ward. He wanted to cut inside all the time. And I felt that for his standard, it wasn't his best game, Martinelli. Ødegaard, I thought, got into the mix and always looked like he controlled it with his game. But I didn't think he had an outstanding game. I thought he was good. But we started pretty well. And we created some chances. And this isn't formation-wise what I think would be defensive-minded, even though it's free at the back at times. I do feel like it is actually trying to get us more attacking because of that extra man in midfield. We did actually create. So straight away, about 90 seconds, in fact, there's a brilliant piece of play down the right-hand side. Kai Havertz gets the ball, turns his guy, opens up his body with his left foot and finds Martinelli in free of space. Now, Martinelli's just got to hit that with his left foot. He's just got to either touch it once and smash it or hit it first time. But what he tries to do is he thinks he's got a lot longer than he had. He thought he had all the time in the world. He controls it. He shifts it over to his right favoured foot to have a dig. And it's just by then too late. The gap's been blocked by the defending, which was good defending recovery-wise, in fact. And that was disappointing for me because Martinelli's normally instinct. Martinelli's normally one of those guys who you don't have to think, oh, you've done the wrong thing. Now, I understand that he's young and he does make some rash decisions at times, but normally I've got confidence for Martinelli to have some shots because the last couple of games I've seen him in pre-season and in against Forest, he actually went for that shot with that left foot. So for me, it was quite a strange one not to get that. Then I look at what's happening around the box, and Eddie Nketiah gets a couple of chances. Now, the first one, I'm going to give him credit for because Bukayo Saka, great muscle, wins the ball back and threads it through. Eddie Nketiah turns the defender fantastically, and that's something he's done really well. Uses his strength, which is something he's developed 100%. And then by the time he's spun him, gone away from Anderson and Guehi and Mitchell can't really touch him. He's just got to slot that home. And unfortunately, great strength, great turn, great spin. He's just not got enough on that to ever look like it going in. And in the end, it hits the post. I think he should have done better, of course, but I'm not going to sit there and blame him because he made something out of that. He was in the right place. He spun away from the defender, put himself one-on-one, and unfortunately just weren't able to hit the corner of the net. But the second one, I can't forgive him for. I'm sorry. The second one, he has to score. The ball that comes through, I believe it's from Declan Rice. It's a fantastic one. And Eddie Nketiah is through. Now, Eddie Nketiah needs to just literally slot that underneath the keeper's legs or either side of him. And he tries to dink it. He's about 6 yards out. You cannot miss that chance. And he's over-dinked it. Now, it's impossible to try and score that goal. Like dinking it over the keeper at that 6 yards, that close to the keeper. You've just got to slide it home. And I think, unfortunately, because he's decided not to go and slot it into one of the corners, he's tried to be clever and dink it over. And that just straight away was the wrong decision. And you could see it in his face. It goes over the bar and he's gutted. You could see it. He was absolutely gutted that that was the case. So it's still 0-0. We're going at half-time. And I think, to be fair, a lot of the Arsenal fans would have been okay with it because Crystal Palace hadn't really dominated. I couldn't think of many other opportunities they had in the first half. And when we came out in the second half, it was a really clever bit of play between Martinelli and Eddie Nketiah from a free kick that always gets the penalty, that essentially gets us the penalty. Now, it's a really good bit of thinking from Eddie for the run, and it's great vision and intelligence from Gabriel Martinelli. And when I saw the ball go through and the keeper had committed, I thought all he's got to do is get there first. And I've got faith in Eddie to get there first for stuff like that. Sometimes when he goes through one-on-one, I'm fingers crossed. Sometimes where there's a frustration for lack of creativity or the wrong decision, I'm a bit frustrated with Eddie. Sometimes his all-round play, people say it lacks. But actually last night, Eddie Nketiah, to be fair to him, run his socks off, gave us intensity and energy throughout the whole of the game, stretched the defenders, caused problems, probably more so than Saka and Martinelli did for Crystal Palace defensively anyway, and Guehi and Anderson. And I think he had a good game. But yet again, we're talking about Eddie Nketiah missing chances. Now, Gabriel Jesus misses a lot of chances, but actually he does score as well. Eddie Nketiah likewise. What Gabriel Jesus does, I think, is bring a lot more to his all-round game. Eddie Nketiah actually did that last night. For the first time in a long time, people cannot say that Eddie Nketiah just stood up there, waited for the ball to come to him and put it in. And that's what he did in the Emirates Cup. That's what he's done last season in games. And that's why people will sit there and say, I don't want him ahead of the likes of Jesus or Trossard because of that reasons. But last night, fair play to Eddie Nketiah. He won the penalty. I thought Saka was going to take it. I also thought VAR were going to get involved with Thomas Partey's apparent nudge. But actually, let's be real, it wasn't. And then Saka gives the ball to Ødegaard, which I thought was bizarre, if I'm honest. I can't sit there and lie. I thought it was a strange one. I didn't expect that. I thought Saka was going to take this one, say, look, I've missed before, scored in the Community Shield. I fancy this one. But actually, it was Ødegaard. And wow, if he's going to take penalties like that, then fair play. Leave him on the penalties. That was cool, calm, collected, passed it into the corner, sent the keeper the wrong way, and we go 1-0 up. And from that point, I never really felt like Palace could get back into it. They got a free kick that Eze stood over and he put it over the bar. And from that point, I thought, yeah, Arsenal are actually in control here. We're dominating. But I still had question marks over the actual formation itself and whether it was working, whether it was enabling us to create and pepper their goal. I don't think it was any more so than the other formation. So it was an interesting sort of way to look at the game, really. Is this actually allowing us to create more? And I think the answer was probably no, particularly in the second half. And then, of course, things change. The new laws have come in about time wasting. The players know it. Thomas Partey and Kai Havertz and Ramsdale at the start pissed the ref off because they were time wasting. Now, we should not be time wasting in 59 minutes. That's just ridiculous, in my opinion. But we were, for whatever reason. And then when Ramsdale finally kicks it out after being told, come on, you and Partey have been wasting time, the ball goes out for an Arsenal throw-in. Now, Kai Havertz picks it up, and there's around about 23 seconds while he's got it in between his hands and in between throwing it to Tomiyasu. So he's the one wasting time right now. Tomiyasu's trying to find someone, and Arsenal just aren't interested in making space for him because they're happy to time waste. So therefore, he has to give the yellow card to Tomiyasu because he's the one who's currently time wasting. Now, he doesn't have to give it to him, but you can see why he has, because he's the one who's got it in his hands, not really throwing it. So the referee has said, right, do I book Thomas Partey for the 2 minutes to go over there, Ramsdale for taking his time to kick it out, Havertz for holding on to the ball for a while, or Tomiyasu, who's currently wasting time that I can see, and then he's booked Tomiyasu. I can't really sit there and go mental about that one. I can't, because Arsenal were time wasting. They know the rules. They shouldn't be doing it. It's getting added on anyway at the end of the game. So we don't know what they're doing, why they're doing it. Get with the times, stop time wasting. Otherwise, you're going to get a yellow card. That's the way it is now. They know that now, footballers. They cannot do this anymore. There's no more time wasting. It's just stupid. Stupid to do it. Gets added on at the end, and then you are 10, like we were 10 men down. There's 8 minutes to go added onto it. Pathetic, right? So let's just stop that. That's like lesson learned. Don't do it anymore. You're open to it. You know the rules. Don't do it anymore. Then what happens is the ball goes out on the Crystal Palace right-hand side and Tomiyasu gets beat. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say he had a shocking game. I thought he had a poor game. I'm not going to lie. I didn't think he was outstanding. Some people were saying, oh, do you know what? There was some opportunities for us to actually do quite well and some duels that he'd won and he did really well at left back, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I thought I like Tomiyasu a lot. I think he's a really good lad. But I didn't really like his performance at times. And I thought Jordan Ayew had his number at times. And if Jordan Ayew's got your number, that's a worry. There's a couple of times first in the half, he just beat him, just walks past him. And then, of course, he's beat him there. And Tomiyasu, I've got to say, it's not a yellow card. It's not a second yellow card. It's a joke, man, if I'm honest with you. Jordan Ayew's felt this and he's gone down. He's not nudged him. He's not pulled his shirt. He's not pushed him over. He's put his hand on him, which and I mean hand on him like this, and he's gone down. I don't think Jordan Ayew's actually trying to get him booked. I think he's just trying to win the foul. I don't even think it's a foul, if I'm honest. I think it should have just been play on and we crack on. Tomiyasu then gets sent off, which is harsh before because obviously the yellow card was given to time wasting, just like Carragher said. They pointed out him, but I think that was right. The second one is not a yellow card. And then we're in trouble, man. Then we're in trouble. I'm sitting there thinking, do you know what? This referee wants to make a name for himself, just like the others in our country. That's what he's going to do tonight. At least try to under the lights. He was the one who gave the yellow card to the red card to Tomiyasu that time. That's what some of these referees do. I'm sure of it. And then I'm worried. Crystal Palace are trying to pepper our goal. They're trying to launch everything in. Edouard has a header, which I'm not sorry, Palace fans, he's got to do better with. Talking of Palace fans, Rich, big up, man. Make sure you go over to Eagle Eyed Football and give this guy a subscribe, man. Big up, Rich. And apologies, I couldn't jump on at the weekend, man. I wasn't able to. There we go. There's another one here. It says, big up, Dan. I thought we were well worth a draw. We didn't do enough to win, and I'm not mad that you won. Just frustrated. Yeah, I can imagine that you thought you could have got something out of it, Rich. 100%, man. We were clinging on towards the end, and of course, we were delighted by the way that we celebrated at the end because we managed to get the 3 points. Palace will be all right, man. They need players. They've lost Zaha. They've managed to keep hold of Elise, but he's obviously injured. They need to go and get what I believe is a striker that's going to guarantee them at least 10, 15 goals. And I know it's easier said than done. But defensively, I thought they were sound, if I'm honest with you, Crystal Palace. I thought they dealt with Saka and Martinelli. I thought Guehi and Anderson have showed why they've got class and why they're a good partnership. Decore and Lerma are going to be a beast to be forced to be reckoned with in that midfield. Eze is an absolute baller. So, yeah, I think you've got some good players, man. Squad-wise, probably not. I think the 11, everybody knows, is half decent. And if Edouard can score find his shooting boots, or if you go and buy somebody you feel can, then Palace have got a good chance of fighting for the top half and going as far as they can into a competition to the deep stages, man. Let's see what they do. Huge rumours regarding Iheanacho, apparently, with Palace. That would be a good signing. I know that Eddie and Balogun both linked with you, but looks like that's gone dead in the water now. But Iheanacho, I can't believe he stayed at Leicester. I think he'd be a very good signing for Palace. So watch this space. Big up, Rich. Make sure you go and subscribe to Eagle Eyed Football. So we're clinging on. And then I'm looking at substitutions. And I felt like after the red card, Mikel Arteta, if there's any criticism, kind of allowed them to come on to us. We kind of forced them to have a go at us because all of our substitutions were defensively. So it was Jorginho, it was Zinchenko, it was Kivior, all of the players coming off. Gabriel came on. All of the players coming off were attack-minded, other than Havertz, who was the only one left up there in the end. And I'm thinking, wow, we're panicked. We've hit panic mode. Actually, Jorginho was fantastic when he came on, I must say. He really was. And I feel personally like it was, in the end, the right decision defensively and substitutions-wise. But it weren't convincing, guys. It weren't convincing against Forest and it weren't convincing against Palace. We controlled and dominated possession in both games. But in the second half, we tired at Forest. And if it was another 10-15, who knows? Chris Wood comes on and does what he did against Sheffield United, and it's 2-2. They get a penalty, Crystal Palace, which, to be fair, they had a chance of getting. Some would say it was a penalty. It's 1-1. So we've gone into the Forest and Palace games against two sides that we believe are going to probably finish in and around top half and the bottom half. And we've got 2 points. That's the fine margins of football. I'm not having this, oh my God, this is a sensational masterclass from Mikel Arteta when I don't feel like we've been convinced. I don't feel we've been pretty to watch. I don't think it's been fun, electric, fluent, or fire to watch Arsenal going forward. And I think that we've got to take the 6 points and be happy with it personally, moving on. So we'll have to see what happens there, man. Listen, I want to talk about 2 players in particular who I thought were immense. One of them, William Saliba, outstanding. He is a Rolls Royce. And what was mad for me is that he actually made a really bad mistake, but the recovery tackle was just out of this world. I think, he's because easily have had a couple of chances where he could have given away penalties, but he's got it absolutely spot on. He's got the confidence to know that actually, I ain't giving away penalties. I'm not a bozo. I'm winning that ball clean. I have to say it, and I said it last week, I think we've got one of the best defenders we're going to see in this Premier League. And I'll be amazed if he spends the whole of his career at Arsenal, because there's going to be Real Madrid knocking on the door, PSG knocking on the door, Juventus, all these big clubs. massive clubs, in fact, are going to be knocking on the door. And for me, I think we've got the best centre half in the league. I really did. I think Ruben Diaz and Gvardiol are the two that everyone's going to look at. Saliba for me, right? If Gvardiol is one of the best young ones, Saliba's got to be right up there with him. I can understand the Ruben Diaz call. I don't actually care. This guy is ridiculously good, man. Like, I'm sorry, I've not seen a centre half as good as him at that age. Probably since Rio Ferdinand, 25 years ago. The guy is insanely good, man. Insanely good. So he was outstanding. Of course, the other player I'm talking about, who was my man of the match, Declan Rice. Declan Rice has really thrived in this new formation. And what's even better is actually playing as a 6 and playing as an 8. He's done both in 2 games. And for me, was the best player on the pitch in both. So he can play box to box. He can play in that pivot or in that anchor. And he can do what I believe is what Jamie Carragher described as the all-round midfield role. So I think that for me is really, really key, because there's a time where we might need Declan Rice in a holding midfield role. There's times where we're definitely going to need him in a more of an attacking 8 role. And I listened to his interview after the game, and I just love everything about him. Everything off the pitch is so good around Declan Rice. It's positive, it's friendly, it's smiley, it's happiness. The passion he showed after the game, cheering for the win. I love the way that he said, "I want to score more goals. I want to learn. I'm happy here. I want to learn off the manager." I just think everything about what Declan Rice has done and achieved is fantastic, man. So big fan of what he's done. And I think that he's just slotted in. You know, some players just slot in, and people will say, well, he should do because he was 105 million or whatever. Nah, man, come on. Like, this guy has been phenomenal in the last couple of games. And I just like everything about him. And I don't look at him and think, all right, fair play. You've done it on a hard night at Palace and a home at Forest. Go do it against United, because I know he will do it, because he's been doing it for West Ham for the last 4 years. Like, this guy has been such a good signing, man. Such a good signing. And he's been spectacular in the last couple. The last player I want to talk about is Kai Havertz. Unfortunately, Kai Havertz is going to get the Pepe treatment from some fans. Okay. And Pepe came in for 72 million, and a lot of people looked at that and thought, is that it for 72 million? A lot of people are going to do that for 65 million. Now, I understand that to a certain degree, because for 65 million, I want goals, I want assists. I don't want someone who can bring stuff to the table that you don't see, because we're already getting that. He's not Busquets or Gilberto Silva, this guy, right? And he's being treated like it by some of the fan base. You can't see what he's doing. Well, for 65 million, a lot of fans want to see what he's doing. Now, I do have the other side of the fence to that. He does do quite a lot that potentially you don't see. But actually, the stuff you do see, I think, in the last couple of games ain't been too bad. I don't look at Kai Havertz and think, wow. I don't look at Kai Havertz and think you're a shambles, get the hell off here. But I also don't look at Kai Havertz and say, right, we're closer to the title now because of you. Now, we're 2 games in. Got to give him some form of time. But actually, what it will come down to is 2 things. If we don't see the goals and assists, and we don't see the creativity, but we do see it from Trossard, fans are going to get the hump. It needs to be fair. I love competition for places, but it does need to be fair. And the other thing I have to say, we will find out if this system is suited to Kai Havertz or not, if and when Zinchenko and Jesus come back. Because when Zinchenko and Jesus come back, Partey will not be playing as a right back inverted. He'll be playing back in the middle, because Zinchenko does that role on the left. Ben White will be reverted back to right back, I believe, and Gabriel will get his place back alongside Saliba. Jesus will go up top, which I imagine will be for one of Eddie or Kai Havertz. And then it will be Rice back in the middle with Erdegaard, and then hopefully Saka and Martinelli. Now, Smith Rowe and Trossard, we still haven't even seen enough of these yet, but this is good strength in depth. What I do need to see, though, is it fair? And I don't know that Mikel Arteta has always been fair with players. Some he just doesn't fancy, the face don't fit. Kieran Tierney, for example, Pepe, for example, Maitland-Niles. Some of these guys that have just never been able to quite get game time. But actually, it needs to be fair. Trossard should be playing a lot more regularly. He's been fantastic for us, right? Kieran Tierney, when you've got hardly any left backs, I'm sorry, man. I know you don't really rate him, but actually, he's not a bad player to be playing there. There's also been others in the past, which I'm not going to go into. Kai Havertz, I think, is definitely going to be given the opportunity, and he cannot sit there and say that he hasn't, because he's playing every minute of every game so far. I like what he's doing in the middle there at times. I don't quite see what he's doing at other times. I see a lot of hold-up play. I see link-up play. I see the fact that he is trying to cause a nuisance and trying to allow for other players to get brought into the game. But I need to see more from him for £65 million. I need to see goals and assists for a player that is an attacking midfielder. So for me, yeah, I'm struggling with that one so far. I'm going to just take a couple of questions before we wrap up on something I want to talk about. Wolves FI says Leandro Trossard was yesterday unused sub. Is he fallen off Arteta's favourite list already? Yes, I think he has for a starter, but I think he'll definitely be utilised in this side and he'll definitely be a super sub. Just not so sure that he deserves to be. I think he deserves to be starting. I think he's been outstanding, if I'm honest with you. So it'd be interesting to see for me. This one comes in from Rich as well, who says, I've been a huge advocate for Mark Guehi. What's your thoughts on his performance? I really like Mark Guehi, and I thought he was fine along with a lot of the Palace defenders. I don't know that he's worth 80 million, like D said. I think he's probably a Ben White type, £50 million centre half that's an England international that's done very well the last couple of years, that's learnt his trade at Chelsea. I believe he was at Swansea and he done really, really well on loan. And then he's come into the Palace mould and has been fantastic. So I'm a huge fan of him, man. And I was surprised that a team like Liverpool, who I think need another centre back, aren't interested in taking him or at least putting in a bid for him, because I think with 115 million that we know they've got, they've gone for Doucouré, it seems, ahead of Mark Guehi, which I can see. I think he's a good player. Doucouré, I think they're both quality. I think they both do brilliantly at Liverpool. I'm just surprised that they have that no one's gone in for Mark Guehi. I think there's a lot of clubs that could do with a centre half like him. Spurs, Manchester United. I still think Chelsea could be in with a shout of a centre half after Fofana's injury, but obviously he's come from Chelsea, so probably not. Newcastle, I think, need another centre half. Arsenal could now, with Timber being out. We've got a right-sided defender problem. Mark Guehi was linked with us ages ago, but I think for 50 million, I can't see that one happening with us. Let's see what happens. Lastly, I want to touch on this. This comes from Gunners85. Apparently, Pepe now might stay. I don't think it's best for the club or for Pepe if he stays at Arsenal. He's clearly not wanted or needed or doesn't fit into the system, face doesn't fit type with Mikel Arteta. I think what's happened here is we're struggling to sell him. Nobody wants to pay the money, and more importantly, nobody wants to put him on 148k a week or whatever he's on. So unfortunately, he looks like he might have to be mutually terminated contract-wise. I'm sure he'll go back to France and do a good job for someone. What I would say is this. I'm not saying that Nicolas Pepe needs to stay at Arsenal here. I'm not saying that he's one of our better players. I think he got unfair criticism, but quite a lot. If you compare his stats to other big money signings like Jadon Sancho and Antony at Manchester United, he leaves them dead in the water. In fact, I think he leaves Kai Havertz dead in the water for a £90 million player that he would have rose to if he'd stayed at Chelsea and done well. So for me, it's not ever really been about that. Pepe's numbers are pretty good. When he comes on, he creates, he scores goals, and he actually does look like he's going to actually do something. The problem is sometimes he's too predictable on the right-hand side, cutting in on that left. I don't think he fits the mould or the way that we play anymore. And I also think that if you're bringing him on instead of like Reece Nelson and Fabio Vieira, I would be okay with that. But if we're going to go and buy somebody better, let's say like Mohamed Kudus, who looks like he might be going to West Ham now, I'd be more inclined to get somebody like that and then allow Pepe to go. That would be my ideal. So let's see what happens and watch this space here. He could still go to Besiktas. They're talking about that. I just don't think they want to pay him that much money, which I understand. And will Pepe want to take a 50 to 60,000 pound a week pay cut? He might have to if he wants first team football. Do me a favor, guys. Make sure you smash a like on this. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're going to be back at 8 p.m. So make sure you set a reminder and come back here later. We've got all the guys on for Race for Europe. We've got Man United to discuss, Tottenham, Arsenal. We've got Newcastle. We've got Brighton and Villa. All these guys discuss Manchester City, Liverpool. We're going to be talking about all weekend's fixtures and what it means for us moving on to game week 3. So make sure you're there for that one and do not miss it. 8 p.m. this evening. Make sure you hit a like on the way out of this one. Few things I do towards the end. I'm going to say I thought Declan Rice was man of the match, followed closely behind Saliba. And I'll shout out to Eddie. So I think Eddie did really well. And sometimes don't get the credit that he deserves. But I thought for me, those were the two that were outstanding for me, Saliba and Rice. I'm not going to do any player ratings. I actually find them quite cringy. I don't know why people do it. It's not for me, if I'm honest with you. So I'm not going to do player ratings. But we will be back very, very soon. 8 p.m. this evening. Make sure that you do not miss it. Set a reminder. Smash a like on the way out of here. I'm going to love you and leave you and say one final thing. Up the Arsenal. Take care, people.